I don't know why I did this, but I turned every single zombie in Dying Light into a sprinter. Yeah, I'm not smart. That's not all though. See, this is actually part of the I Am Legion mod. So on top of the zombies sprinting at me like meth addicts, they're also more deadly. There's tons more of them and they can sense me from anywhere on the map, so there's no way to sneak around them. In order to beat the game, I'm gonna have to crawl through endless hordes of these monsters, never once having a break as I'm constantly chased from one side of the map to the other. Can I do it? Or will this be too much for me to handle? Let's find out. So as you all know, I dropped into Harran, got attacked by some zombies, got saved, blacked out, woke up, scared some children, and began my journey. I wasn't entirely sure if the mod had worked at this point, but I was sure I'd find out if I just kept chugging along. So, I did. My boy Raheem told me about a survivor needing help on the 13th floor, and I immediately headed down there to see what I could do. And just look at what I came across. Normal zombie. He wasn't a sprinter, but his skull was a lot tougher than usual. I mean, just look at the beating I gave the poor guy. So then, was the mod working? In the room next to the zombie was the zombie's human brother, and he told me all about how his brother had turned and how sad he was about it. Aww. To help take his mind off things, I kicked his brother's rotten corpse into the room with him so he could cuddle with it. Anyway, it was time to go outside. I started with getting some loot and, Oh wow, look at her go. Wow, that's kind of crazy. Uh-oh. Oh wow, oh, there's a lot of them. Holy Jesus Christ. Oh, there's a whole lot of them. Oh God, oh shit. Yeah, so I'd been outside for a total of 15 seconds and had already gotten my ass handed to me. This challenge was not gonna be easy. A moment later, I talked to Zara, made uncomfortably long eye contact with one of his many boys, talked to Spike, then caught Zara's boy watching me from behind. He played it off like he wasn't interested, but he wasn't fooling me. I knew his dirty little secret, and he knew I knew.
I am not gay! I am straight!
Getting out of Zara's stronghold, I thought of a brilliant tactic. See, fighting the hordes of the undead with nothing but a gas pipe would have been a terrible idea. It was obvious that doing that wouldn't work, and had I tried, I would have been eaten alive within seconds. But what if I just camped on a roof as I knocked those suckers down? It was brilliant. And my God, it was working. But at the same time, these little freaks were so fast and slippery and they hit me so hard. My brilliant strategy didn't seem to be as brilliant as I once thought. But also, look at this. I actually tricked one into falling into the stronghold. I wasn't sure what was going on in that little head of his, but for some strange reason, he took off. And then he had a heart attack. Poor guy. He just died on the spot and nobody else seemed to notice. It happened with another one of the guy's friends too, except this time his head exploded on impact. As much as I enjoyed watching these guys be struck down by the power of God himself, enough was enough. It was time for me to leave this safe zone once and for all, because otherwise I'd just be sitting there waiting for my moment forever. I escaped out into the real world, running as fast as I could, and within 10 seconds I was completely out of breath, and an entire group of psychopaths was after me. In a moment of panic, I hopped into an electric car, and thankfully the zombies decided I was the only one allowed on there. I took advantage of the situation, of course, and beat them silly, and when the final one died, I was able to hook up the battery. That was all well and good, and I was proud of what I'd accomplished so far, but I quickly came to a terrible realization. See, there was no way to sneak past the zombies. Like, at all. These monsters could sense me from a mile away and came running from all directions. I could fight them, sure, and I was doing well for the most part, but boys, there's only so much a man can do. I was completely overwhelmed. My stamina was pathetic, my weapons were garbage, and my health was a disgrace. So I tried again, and again I died. It was just way too easy to get ganged up on. So okay, it was time to switch up my strategy. Instead of fighting the undead, I just bum rushed my objectives. This worked for about 3 seconds, until the endless hordes barged their way into the safe zone of the area I had to clear, effectively forcing me to beat them all. For the next few minutes, I tried my best to fight these things so I could unlock the area, but the more I fought, the more new zombies joined the party. I was killed again and again, ganged up on from all sides as I desperately tried to fight for my life. What I was doing clearly wasn't working. So, changing up my strategy once again, I hung up beside a spike trap. This worked kind of well, but I was still getting hit from the sides and ended up dying. I just couldn't figure it out. What was I missing? Why was this so goddamn difficult? Then a miracle happened. I was able to make my way into the building and quickly took the guy out in there. The mission still didn't complete though, so I was killed, but when I respawned and quickly fixed the lights, the mission was finally completed. Or at least, I thought it was. See, now I had to fix the other cars and lights around the map, which were all surrounded by massive groups of zombies. Using my brain, I thought, hey, I'm on a super tall building. I'll just kick all the zombies to their deaths and fix everything when they're taken out. And I have to admit, that wasn't a bad plan. But see, the zombies just kept coming. They never stopped. They kept coming and coming and coming, and there wasn't a damn thing I could do about it. All I could do was rush the battery, which worked, though of course I died. Then an idea struck me. What if I used some of those firecrackers Spike gave to me? Yeah, that could work. I pulled up to that same spot, threw the firecrackers out, and prayed that I'd be okay. Hey, I mean, it worked. Slowly but surely, I was making progress. Slowly but surely. After having fixed all the lights, I made my way to the power station, slipped by the big boy, turned on the breaker, and ran my ass home before I was eaten alive. With day one finally behind me, it was clear what the rules of the game were. The first thing I learned was that it was better to run than to fight. I couldn't compete with a dozen zombies bum rushing me at once, even if I had a building to use as a defense. They just make their way up from all sides and slap my ass red. Of course, though, because my stamina was non-existent, this was easier said than done. The zombies would constantly catch up to me when I was out of breath and pound me into the next dimension, so I'd have to strategically path in a way that was confusing to them, like jumping on obstacles and climbing buildings until I caught my breath. It was stressful and took a lot of brain power, but it was definitely doable. Then there was the problem of loot. See, because I was spending all my time worrying about staying alive, there was absolutely no opportunity for me to loot for materials. Sure, I could grab a pipe here or there, maybe even scoop up some trash before the demons caught up to me, but looting a house? Opening a chest? Yeah, that wasn't happening. I was cursed to stay broke until I figured out a way to kill these zombies efficiently. Finally, there was the issue of leveling up. Just farm for points, Dante, I hear you say, but no. This mod also seemed to mess with the leveling system to the point where it seemed like I had to earn double the amount of points to gain perks. Farming wasn't worth it, and the skills I could get didn't even seem to help me all that much. I was a lone fish in an ocean of death, and the only thing I could do was keep swimming. When I returned to the tower, I noticed a bunch of guys around someone's door. Apparently, the guy inside needed help, but his door was locked. So, I broke in, asked the dude what was up, and he told me that some guys on the outside had sold him some fake medicine. It was up to me to go beat some sense into them. Except, my god, what the hell is that? Is that a demon? Either way, I sent that scum back to where he came from and made my way to the nearby settlement. Inside were the guys who sold the fake medicine. I called them out on it, and an epic battle ensued. But there was just an eensy-teensy problem. See, the zombies on the outside made their way inside and decided to help me out by literally doing all the work for me. All right. Okay. I continued making my progress on the main missions, opening crates, getting slaughtered by Rice's men because of course they all had rifles, until I finally came to the crates that had been airdropped just a few minutes before. Thankfully, I was able to clear the area fairly easily, and after burning the Antizin, I was chased by volatiles for the first time. And my god, was it ever terrifying. I couldn't even see them on the map. Suffice it to say, they killed me as I ran. Yeah, running around at night was an instant no-go. It was a good thing I could just sleep whenever I wanted. When I returned to the tower, Brecken tasked me with going to Rice's place. So I did, though I just barely made it. And after talking to my love Kareem, I came across the God Strat. Basically, I would stand at the spikes just outside of Rice's compound, kick and hit zombies so they'd fall into them, end up inevitably dying, then spawn back in the compound and repeat this until all the zombies were defeated. This got me tons of experience points and a bunch of loot, so life was looking pretty good. That is, until the antenna situation came up. See, because Rice wanted to have control over the entire area, he wanted me to set up the antennas for him so he could command everyone from his compound. Of course, because it was part of my mission, I followed his lead, making my way over to the nearest antenna with a horde of demons on my tail. And as I just barely made my way inside the antenna station without any problems, I quickly realized that the guy I had passed by a moment before found himself surrounded without anyone to help him. He didn't last very long. Well, too bad there was nobody there to help him. Anyway, next up on Rice's to-do list was clearing the fisherman village. The moment I got there, I knew this was going to be a problem. The village was located right next to a massive highway which had endless numbers of infected, and I was expected to clear the village of all zombies in order to progress. My first idea was to hang out near some spike traps to kick the fools into, but they were just way too fast, so I quickly gave up on that idea. I then used a white van to escape to the other side of the fence and expected them to throw themselves at me as I accepted my fate, but look, they all went the long way. This gave me the opportunity to pound some heads in before hopping back over to the van when I got overwhelmed, and like before, they all went the long way and the process repeated. A few minutes later, all the zombies were defeated, I got tons of free loot, and I was able to save the village. Well, there was this one guy on one of the roofs who was swearing at me and even challenged me to a duel. So after beating his ass unconscious and taking his only weapon, I was out of there. At this point, I thought it'd be smart to go back to Rice's and get my payment. But before I could take more than a few steps, Kareem called me and said that I needed to take out some crazed gunmen who'd killed a few of their men. Now, to be quite honest, the thought of fighting a human with a gun terrified me. How the hell would I be able to pull that off when I was being chased constantly? Dodging bullets and dodging zombies at the same time? Yeah, that wasn't happening. But I did know one thing. If I was able to take the guy out by surprise the first time and win quickly before the zombies overtook me, I might have had a chance. So, taking a deep breath, I sprinted towards the gas station, hopped my way onto the roof, and broke every bone in that pathetic man's body. And look! I had a gun now! Finally! A weapon to defend myself with against the hordes of the undead. And that also meant that any human who crossed my path was a dead man. Just in time too, because Jade wanted to meet up with me at the school so we could crush some skulls together. We decided to split up for whatever brain-dead reason the game came up with. And inside, I found myself up against Rice's men for our very first truly fair fight. And my god. You couldn't even call it that. The tables had turned entirely, and I was popping heads like bubblegum. All it took to beat each guy was a single well-placed shot, and just look at how much ammo I had. This section was way too easy. I ended up collecting all the dead guys' guns to sell for later, continued making my way through the school, and came across some more sprinters. Now, I know what you're thinking. Dante, are zombies also killed in a single headshot? Yep. Turns out, guns are extremely OP. I finished up the rest of the school without even breaking a sweat. I continued on my conquest, selling all the guns I'd picked up, realizing I was still poor and that nothing I could afford was worth it anyway, talking to Zara about hunting the mythical Shrek creature, going out at night to find one, dying, taking over a nearby safe zone with my new gun, killing the Shrek creature in a single shot, and giving the sample back to Zara. With every mission I completed, and with every new perk I acquired, I could feel myself getting stronger. I wasn't the weak coward I had been when this challenge began. No, I could actually defend myself now, and I knew how the zombies' brains worked. I refused to be pushed around anymore. It was around this time that Raheem called me on the cell phone. He told me that he was trapped in a train car and that he'd armed a bomb to blow up the biggest tower in the city. And as much as he knew I didn't want to do it, I needed to finish the job. So I agreed. I plowed my way through that tower while taking out every single infected with my rifle so I could plant the bombs in peace, and when I returned, Raheem was a zombie.
I have to break your neck. It's just the way it is. I'm just a messenger.
And there was some random guy in Raheem's warehouse who wanted to fight me, so I obliged and killed him almost instantly. Why did these guys even bother fighting me, man? It never ended well for them. Shortly after this, I returned to the tower to tell Brecken about Raheem's death, but uh-oh, it was an ambush on Zara's stronghold. I jumped into action right away, taking care of Rice's men and taking some more loot. But before I could enter Zara's trailer, the guy who had a crush on me told me that Rice took him back to his compound. I gave chase immediately, slaughtering each of Rice's men easily. And at the end of it all, I came across Zara. For a split second, it seemed like we were going to escape. Then, Rice caught us.
You're under arrest.
Next up on the menu was the arena, and I was not looking forward to it. I had to say goodbye to all of my weapons and all of my advantages, left only with the garbage I could find on the floor. After having been so confident over the last few hours, and after thinking I was completely unstoppable, I was brought back to my most primal, pathetic state. It was depressing, man. I scavenged as many pipes and nailed planks as I could, took a deep breath, and began the battle. And, oh, all I had to do was kick them into the spike traps. That was it? Okay. Because of this, the Demolisher was extremely easy to take out, and I was out of the arena in no time. Escaping Rice's compound wasn't an issue, and thankfully, with the use of the firecrackers I'd picked up in the arena, the sprinters weren't able to kill me as I had multiple seizures on my way back to the tower. Here was where the game completely changed. Up until this point, I've been relying on this purple hammer to carry me through the game when I wasn't using my rifle. It got the job done, and although it wasn't perfect, it was 100 times better than any pipe. Still though, even with how good it was, it took way too many hits to get the job done. Enter Rice's Arena Machete. This baby was decapitating demons left and right. I mean, look at this. I could actually defend myself without the use of a gun now. Machetes were easily the best weapon for this challenge, and I was going to do my very best to acquire them from here on out. It was during all this, I came across this poor man next to the fisherman's village, and it was obvious to me that he was completely traumatized. So I did him the ultimate favor of putting him out of his misery. What a poor bastard. And then immediately after that, there was yet another man who thought he could take me. Brother, why were these guys so confident in themselves? They had to stop doing that. I mean, I know I didn't necessarily have to kill them, but as a man, I couldn't pass up a duel. It was their fault anyway, okay? They challenged me, so I wasn't in the wrong. So yeah, I continued making my way through Harran, decapitating zombie after zombie, unlocking and using the camouflage perk, which was a huge help, and I thought that now was as good a time as any to head over to the big city. I was a little nervous heading over there since I knew the streets were teeming with endless waves of the undead, but what was the alternative? Sitting in Harran like a little baby boy, hoping that someone would eventually come to rescue me? Hell no. I needed to achieve my destiny with my own hands, and that required me going to the city. The entire process was relatively pain-free, and although Rice's men ambushed me near the end of it, you all know I was able to easily take them out. I mean, come on. With all of my training, I was essentially John Wick at this point, and there it was. The big city. As soon as I gained control of my body, I could hear the screams of the undead throughout the city. They were coming for me, and there wasn't a damn thing I could do about it. My only option was to dive straight into the canal as I swam for the headquarters in the middle of the city. Of course, I did have to make landfall eventually so I could scurry my way up to the top of the tower, but thankfully I wasn't overrun. Now, first things first was to find Jade. Apparently she was waiting for me somewhere in the city, and I knew that if I wanted to find her before Rice's men did, I was gonna have to be quick about it. During my travels, I came across a man fighting a zombie on the roof of some building, and there was something threatening about the way he was talking to it. I had a bad feeling about him, so I decided it'd be best to jump kick him down to the streets below. You can call me evil if you want, but I'm just trying to make the city a safer place, alright? Now, I'm gonna be flat out honest here, okay? Running from the infected in the city was 100 times easier than running from them in the slums. Because most zombies spawned on the ground and I was racing across the rooftops like some brain-dead version of Batman, most of them never even had the opportunity to catch up to me before I was out of there. Who would have thought, huh? As I made my way around the city, I got a call from a lad named Michael. He was holed up in the sewers and told me that he knew where Jade was, and that if I did what he wanted, he'd spill the beans. I didn't like being coerced like that, but if it meant finding my sweet, sweet Jade, I didn't really have a choice. My mission was to go into a massive apartment building to plant bombs in specific rooms so that we could show the world that humans were still mingling about in Harran. Sounded easy enough. I entered the area with the same machete I'd taken from Rice's arena and got to work. I made my way through the apartment building, cutting, shooting, chopping, looting, and placed the remote bombs on the stoves of certain rooms. I came across a little guy who got stuck behind a couch in one of those rooms, and it was clear he was a violent criminal through and through, so I put him out of his misery. I mean, it was better than dying in a fiery explosion, right? Yeah, I did the right thing. Everything seemed to be going well, and I was making good progress, and right when I thought nothing could surprise me anymore, I came across a random chap in one of the hallways. He was all bloody and standing next to a room full of dead bodies, so it was pretty obvious I was dealing with a massive psychopath. For my safety, I tried messing with the guy to see if I could set him off in any way. I took his little package, I bumped into him, and I even shot him in the kneecap, but Oh my! He was an invincible man, apparently. I see. Well, sorry for shooting you, sir. I did not realize. Please don't kill me. In the room behind him was a small child, and oh god, he summoned a horde from out of nowhere. Oh, Jesus Christ. I had no choice but to leave the invincible man behind as I made my escape, and I was horrified to see that the entire floor was overflowing with sprinters. I fought with everything I had, and when everything was said and done, I headed back over to the invincible man to see if he needed my help.
No. Wait.
That poor man, he didn't deserve this. He was just minding his own business. It was that kid's fault, wasn't it? I charged into that child's room, choked the little brat out, and beat his ass until I was sure he wouldn't get up again. I planted the rest of the bombs, made my grand escape, and Michael told me that Rice had Jade, and he even told me where they were at, so I made my way over there. Took out group after group of armed soldiers. Thanked God when I realized that the massive group of zombies couldn't make their way up to me from where they were, even though most of them were walkers anyway. And after finishing up some of the boys in the fenced-in area, I came across the sweet honey I'd been searching for this entire time. But there was something wrong with her. She was infected, and Rice made us choose between a single vial of the antidote. What a piece of garbage. Before we could decide on who'd get to use it, a massive group of infected were released onto us, and we had no choice but to fight back. Unfortunately, every single one was sprinting at me like crazy, and although my machete was doing some crazy work, it'd be disingenuous for me to hide the real hero of the day. Allow me to introduce you all to Hermie, the machete-wielding zombie who decided to help Jade and I out in our time of need. What a guy, what a hero. Like the chat he was, Hermie went to leave the room without explaining himself, but sadly, he didn't know how doorknobs worked. I went to help the guy out, but then Jade passed out, and though Hermie was still there as I coached her through her health problems, when I got control of my body again, Hermie was gone. I made my way through a bunch of trippy hallucinations, choked the life out of Jade, and then watched her beat and eat a bunch of bad guys.
I have to break your neck.
She was gone now, and as much as I didn't want to accept that, I was forced to. I was all alone. Except I wasn't! Hermie was back like the loyal guy he was, and he helped me fight Tahir. The two of us worked together, Hermie distracting him from the front and me taking him from the back. At one point, he knocked Hermie on his ass, but Hermie got right back up just like I thought he would, and we proceeded to double team Tahir to his death. It was a beautiful way to end that disgusting man's existence, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. Sadly though, the last glimpse I got of Hermie was right before leaving that room. After that, I never saw him again. You'll be missed, buddy. You'll be missed. By the way, there was another traumatized man shambling around outside the room, and I kinda just decapitated him. You could argue he was desperately asking me for help, but at the same time, you could also argue he was trying to rob me, so I'd rather be the guy who played it safe, you know? To sum up the next hour of my life, I annihilated yet another child, got to Camden's lab, took out the Incredible Hulk, gave some research to Camden, headed over to Rice's compound, used camouflage to help me open a door, ran from the most terrifying horde I'd faced since arriving in Harran, watched the volatiles ragdoll themselves into the pits of hell below, and slowly but surely made my way to the top of Rice's tower. I ended up using my gun on most of the infected since I was literally at the end of the game, and when I faced off against Rice, all it took was one machete chop to send that man to the underworld. And with that, boys, I'd beaten the mod. If you guys enjoyed this video, subscribe to me because I make all kinds of wacky gaming challenges on tons of different games. But make sure to click the bell or else you pretty well aren't subscribed to me. Just make sure you click that bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you thick boys in my next video.